And we are live. Hello, everybody. This is Wei. Um, Today's live is going to be a little bit different. It's days just before Christmas over here in the States. A lot of people are celebrating that. If you're anywhere around the world, it's just the holiday season, end of the year, where we start to reflect back on this past year. It's been interesting for a lot of people. As I talk to a lot of my clients, it's been quite a year. For those of you who know me, it's been quite a year for myself as well. And so today, this live is going to be more of a conversation about how to get out of a funk, whether it be for yourself or for your staff or for your team members, noticing what is going on. And here's the thing, the reason why it's such an important thing to talk about, especially this time of the year, because there's a higher propensity. There's a higher chance that we will go there just because of the chaos of everything that's going on in the world, the chaos of all the warm and fuzzies, and the urgency of getting caught up with the family, getting caught up with the gift giving, getting caught up with wrapping the year up in the best way possible. As we're wrapping the year up, as we wrap our presents with a bow. It's funny because a lot of times people are already burnt out going towards the end of the year because they're hustling, trying to hit numbers in their business or trying to get things done. And then they burn themselves out even more. So it's no wonder that a lot of us become beautifully human and get stuck in a funk, right? Statistics don't lie. There's a higher level of depression during this time of the day. There's a higher level of all these different things where, depending on how our year went, we kind of look back and have our grievances or our celebrations, whatever it may be. The reality is, as human beings, we will all go there at some point. So it's not just this time of the year. So what I wanted to talk about today is really talk about how to get out of a funk. And this is being drawn from what I do with our clients day in and day out when they reach out. Even now, this time of the year, most of the time when they reach out looking for support, it's not around business. It's really, a lot of the times it's about, I'm kind of in this stuck state. I'm kind of in this funk. And how we've helped people is to recognize that we're more than just, for those of you who don't know what I do, we actually help optimize human performance. In other words, we help leaders and entrepreneurs and their staff and their entire organization as human beings operate at a very high level consistently and sustainably. Okay, so you would think that most of the time we're just focusing on optimal performance. But how we mean optimization or optimal performance is to also recognize those funky states. The states where we are being what I call beautifully human. We are fallible by nature. And thus, when we are getting ourselves into a funk, the trick is we're going to go there at some point. But how do we allow ourselves to kind of embrace the fact that we're going to get into a funk and stay there just long enough to learn the lessons or the learnings of that funk state for that particular point in our life, but not so long that it derails us from being able to move the needle forward in our business or evolve and grow in our personal life, our relationships, or even our health, right? That's really what we're talking about when how to get out of funk, not to deny the funk. Okay, because there's a yin yang to everything. For those of us who don't think we're part of nature, well, wake up, we are part of nature. And in nature, if you just observe nature, just the seasons alone, there's the summer and then there's the winter. Okay, not that there's no other states in between. I see kind of like spring and summer kind of like a progression section, and then fall going into winter as another kind of a transition in and of itself. But this very polarizing. It's a yin and yang, right? Human beings, we have our yin and yangs as well. And when we help our clients, or if I work with friends and family, not that I do that all the time, only if they ask with permission, what I often help people recognize is that your greatest strength is also your most amazing expression of self is also your greatest weakness. There is a strong state and a weak state to everything. Your greatest talents, your greatest expression of self, there's also for lack of a better word, a dark side. The parts where when you're tired, when you're hangry, when you're lonely, when you are not having the best day, you are still going to express yourself in a certain way, but not in the way that people often think that would be the best way to do things, if that makes any sense. Okay, so let's jump right into how easy it is, or how simple it is, to get out of a funk. I don't want to say easy, it's simple. I want you to take a look and think about your day. And this is what we do for clients as well. Every single person in the organization has a different way of going into a funk. You have a different way of going into a funk. I have a different way of going into a funk. But what that is the beautiful thing about that, it gives us clues on what it is specifically, because every funky state, there is an opposite state that will actually pull us out. Finding that opposite state that is the exact opposite of that specific funk state that you're in is what's going to pull you out. Now, the trick is, the transformational piece is not pulling yourself too quickly, okay? Oftentimes we call it pathological reframing, and this is what happens in our affirmations, cheerleader rah-rah society here, especially in the States, is that no, you can't be in a funky state. No, you can't be like down, okay? That's a bad thing. Go take drugs, whatever, something weird like that. The thing is, the best way to minimize the time that you're in a funky state is to embrace that funky state just long enough so you can learn, first of all, why you got into that state to begin with, and the purpose of being in that state. Going into a funky state is serving a purpose. Like, I just talked to a colleague of mine earlier, and they found themselves in a funky state this time of the year. And so as we were talking, I said to him, when did you slip into this weird funky place? I said, just a few days ago. Okay, so what were you doing a few days prior to that? And I was like, I was running around like a chicken with its head cut off. I said, okay, so why do you think your ecosystem of self, without attaching any meaning to what funky state you're in, why would you think that if you stepped out of yourself that you would be in that funky state? To which he replied, because I'm burning out. I said, right. So what do you think would solve that? It's like, I would just love to take a fat ass, like he said, fat ass nap. And I said, then do that. And it was that simple. He actually took the rest of the day off. He had a full to-do list of all the things he had to do for work, all the things to do for his personal life and his family and his kids. And he just checked out for a few hours. I got a text later after he got up from his massive nap and just resting for the rest of the day. It was the next day, actually. And he said, oh my God, that was a game changer. I feel so much better. I don't even know what funky state that was. I said, yeah, your ecosystem was letting you know, your ecosystem itself was letting you know that you just need to stop for a little bit and rest and rejuvenate and re-energize. Now, I'm not saying this is going to work for everybody. For his specific ecosystem of self, that was what we identified was the reason. What we do with every one of our clients and every one of my friends that reach out for support is we sit down and go through a list of things that without a doubt that every time you engage, you do these types of things. Like I had a friend, she loved to organize. Every time she created some level of order or organization in any part of the house or at work or in her office, it totally lit her up. So I said to her, it says, well, there's your clue. Every time you get yourself into a funky state, force yourself, if you have to go organize something, to create a system or create some kind of like structure or a plan, right? And she goes, that's it? It's like, yeah, try it. Tell me what happens. Sure enough, she got into a really bad place. I think one of her campaigns at work didn't work so well, and she had to let some people go, and then she got into this funky place because of where economy has been this past year. And she said, Wei, it was hard for me to remember, but I had written down some notes, and this is why I say write it down, because when you're in a funky place, you're not going to think about those things that you've written down. So when you have it written down, you can actually go there and look. She went there, she pulled it up, started doing line by line the things that we had talked about months ago. And sure enough, it pulled her out of the funk. It got into this phase that first she became aware that she was in the funk, realizing why she was in the funk, and then she kept doing it, and then it eventually pulled her out. So she came out with the learnings of why the funk happened, but also didn't stay there so long that it completely derailed her from her business and her life and her relationships. Okay. And it's that simple, right? And we just do this rinse and repeat over and over again, but in a way where we just gently remind people that we are supporting, or people that reach out to me and say, hey, how do I get out of this funk? It's like, okay, remember we talked about that. I think what happens is our society tries to complicate things to say, hey, it's to make it harder than it actually is. But being human is hard enough already. We don't need to create a complexity in how to stay in the most optimal version of ourselves, right? So remember to ask why you're there, okay? Don't immediately pathologically reframe yourself out of funky state so you don't actually get all the cool gemstones of learnings that will help you evolve and grow. See, if you look into nature, we have to have seasons. We have to have the yin and yang in order for growth to happen. If it's sunshine and blue skies year round, nothing will grow. Why? Because no, there's no rain, there's no friction, there's none of that stuff. Nothing is created. That's not how nature works. And guess what? That's not how humans work either. We have to embrace the fact that there are yin and yang and light and dark sides to every single one of us. This is what it means to be beautifully human. And if you want to get out of a funk, if you're currently in a funk now, I encourage you, first sit down and say, okay, and force yourself if you have to, sit there and so, what are all the things in my entire life, every single thing that has lit me up, like without a doubt, when I do this, it completely fills me up and gives me good, usable energy that's sustainable and it doesn't burn me out, right? And just make a list, okay? You don't have to do it right away, okay? Because if you're in a funky place, you're not gonna want to do anything. So just make a list and keep that list handy for the future every time you get into a funk, right? And also remember, ask yourself why you're in the funk. What is the purpose of you experiencing that funk at this moment in time in your life? There's always a reason. What breaks my heart is when people vilify those funky states and never walk away with the learnings and opportunities of growth that come from being in that funky state. So anyway, thought I'd just come on today. It's a Friday. And I had just finished, doing some work, and I thought, there's this common theme that people have been reaching out for support around, some friends, some family, some clients. And I said, why don't I just create some content around this and do a live stream about how to get out of a funk, whether it be for yourself, or for your team, or for your staff. For those of you who are really connected with your staff or your teams and stuff like this, is a really cool end of the year activity that you guys can do. Just sit down. And the nice 360-degree approach is this, is that sometimes people observe us being lit up doing certain activities that we don't even notice ourselves. And so that's a very fun group activity to help create lists of defunctifying activities. I don't even know if that's a thing, but we're calling it that now, the defunctifying things. But anyway, we'd love to hear your thoughts. If you have any comments about this, or if you have any questions about the simplicity of it all, because we've been doing this a long time. I mean, I've been in this human optimization game for almost 30 years now. And so there's a lot of different strategies, and every human being is different. So I always geek out, helping people kind of understand how to defunctify their current state, because that's what we do all day long. Also, over the years, created a whole bunch of different strategies and resources that right now are just sitting kind of on a digital shelf collecting dust, but could be relevant to you. So if you don't want to share on comments and just want to DM me directly, do that too. Be more than happy to share. It's that time of the year. So other than that, if I don't hear from you, continue to have an amazing holiday season and have a safe and happy new year. All right, we'll see you soon in the next live.